Political Buzz is your rapid-fire look at the best political topics of the day. 3 questions, 30 seconds on the clock. Playing with us today, Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman, Jason Johnson, professor at Hiram College and the chief political correspondent at Politic 365, and Republican strategist Ron Bonjean. Welcome to all of you.
Good to be with you.
Okay, first question. 3 words: Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. Is the election now about more than just, it's the economy, stupid? Robert?
Well, I think you're already starting to see that happen. For example, President Obama's approval ratings went down as the price of gasoline went up because of the geopolitical tensions around oil in the Middle East and because of the Iran crisis. But the Republican candidates are not gaining any traction on it as long as they continue to try to defend keeping our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and try to justify the criminally negligent Bush foreign policy.
Ron?
Yeah, I think that foreign policy could likely be part of the 2012 election cycle because we don't know exactly what will happen in Iran, whether or not Israel will try to do a preemptive strike, what's going to, with the tensions in Afghanistan. And these are things that President Obama is going to have to tackle. Now, people are still very concerned about high gasoline prices and high unemployment, and it still is an economic election.
Jason?
Foreign policy is a non-starter for the Republican Party for a really simple reason. Obama killed Osama. That's it. The Republicans have only been able to argue why would have killed him faster or killed him with a bigger gun. Americans aren't that concerned about foreign policy. I can't imagine it's going to be a real issue. People are still going to be concerned about the economy, gas prices, and whether Obama can do something about 8.3% unemployment. Foreign policy, non-starter for the GOP.
Okay, let's get to the next question, and we start that question with some video. This is Pastor Dennis Terry introducing Rick Santorum at a weekend event in Louisiana. Listen.
If you don't love America and you don't like the way we do things, I have one thing to say. Get out! We don't worship Buddha. I said we don't worship Buddha. We don't worship Muhammad. We don't worship Allah. We worship God. We worship God's Son, Jesus Christ.
So Santorum was in the audience and he was politely clapping, and he did respond to this by saying he believes in freedom of religion, but not necessarily what the pastor was saying. So, was his response spot on or not? Ron?
Well, it's very difficult for Santorum because he's playing the evangelical base, but it would be smart to distance himself from his comments, to run from the hills for comments like that, because that really starts to scare voters. Even Republican primary voters who aren't sure exactly what's going on here, they're not going to be, part of that the economy, and focus on what voters care about, not necessarily all this political rhetoric.
Jason?
Look, I don't know how much more narrow the base of Rick Santorum can become. I mean, he doesn't want women to choose. He called black people lazy in Iowa. He told Puerto Ricans they have to learn how to speak Spanish. He's on an anti-porn crusade, so he's going to lose the male vote. I mean, this guy needs to learn how to not alienate voters and actually bring them in. So did he back away from the statement fast enough? Yeah, but he's going to keep doing this, and it's going to make it hard for him to win this nomination against Mitt Romney, let alone face Barack Obama in the fall.
Robert?
These moments are more than just political calculations. They're tests of character. And for example, when Bill Clinton was an underdog running for president, he had what became known as the Sister Souljah moment when he took on a core constituency because of hateful and divisive rap music. Likewise here, whether it's this moment where Rick Santorum didn't have the character to speak up, or whether when the Republican candidates sat silently when a soldier was booed because he was gay, or their very weak response to Rush Limbaugh. They're failing the character test. That's beyond partisanship.
Okay, on to the third question. Your buzzer beater, 20 seconds each. So here's the question. This is First Lady Michelle Obama on David Letterman last night.
Married men and women have conversations all the time, tend to talk, that are for no one else in the world but one another.
That's right. But
hypothetically speaking, at the end of the day, has your husband ever come home and said to you, "Oh, that John Boehner, what an idiot"?
it has never happened. Never. He is always upbeat, particularly about Congress.
Yeah, well, how can you not be upbeat?
Okay, so here's my question. Seriously, Jason?
Look, I don't buy this at all. I always figured that, Obama and Michelle are kind of like Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv from The Fresh Prince. They come home at the end of the day and they talk about all the crazy dysfunctional family of Congress, probably why, Boehner's bad tan and why Eric Cantor's always sitting by himself in the cafeteria. There's absolutely no chance that the President of the United States has nice things to say about Congress when he comes home. Think about 15, 20 years ago when there was that interview with Newt Gingrich's mother and what he used to say about Hillary Clinton. I'm pretty sure that's common.
Ron.
Yeah, I know, when the president comes home, he has a wife and 2 daughters, so I bet you he has a hard time getting in word edgewise. But when he does, I'm sure he's taking a couple of Advil and complaining about John Boehner because he wants to cut taxes, Republicans want to cut spending, and they want to have more energy solutions like the Keystone Pipeline the president's against. So I could see why he has headaches.
Robert.
I guarantee you, Ron, they're not reciting talking points when they're sitting together. But I would have to say, when it comes to knowing what's going on behind closed doors of married couples, I'll leave that to Rick Santorum and his right-wing buddies to figure out. As far as I can imagine, I don't think they're really disgusted with John Boehner. Maybe they're toasting him because of how poorly the Republican Congress is polling. That could be part of it. But realistically, I think as far as okay.
You can finish.
I was buzzed out of that.
Okay, you don't have to. It's okay. Robert, Ron, Jason, thank you so much for playing today. We appreciate it as always.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Tune in tonight for our coverage of the Illinois primary that